We're back with another one of our videos in our series that we're calling Hidden Gems of Italian Cuisine. This is where we choose a region in Italy and we shine a spotlight on a dish from that region that very few people, at least outside of that region or outside of Italy, have heard of, but that deserves quite a bit more attention. And boy, do we have an interesting one today. It's pretty wild.
It's an hidden gem.
It really is.
It's a hidden gem.
But first, where's our destination today, Eva?
So today our destination is up to the north of Italy, which means that we are going in the region of Lombardia.
Now, I have not spent a lot of time in Lombardia, a little bit. So let me throw out what I think I know about Lombardia. That's where Milan is, right?
Easy.
So I've been to Milan. Milan's a super cool city. Awesome big Duomo there, super fun.
For sure you remember what you ate in Milan.
Yes, notably, probably the thing that comes to mind first is risotto alla Milanese, and then you have the Milanese cutlet that often goes with it, a big fried, what kind of meat is it again?
Usually it should be veal, but that's okay.
Okay, yeah.
It can be veal or beef.
Yeah, so risotto is a big thing, rice in general.
Panettone!
Panettone, of course, panettone.
How you can forget about panettone? Panettone is traditional from Milan.
But it's not just Milan, obviously. I think Lake Como is in
Lago di Como, the wonderful, amazing Lago di Como
so the
is
very
in
famous,
Lombardia.
That's where a lot of celebrities, I think, what's his name?
George Clooney.
George Clooney lives there. And if you know the Bellagio Casino in Las Vegas, I think Bellagio is a town.
It's a town on
Lake Como, which I didn't realize until recently. I think that pretty much sums up what I know about Lombardia.
Well, you know something about Lombardia. The food of Lombardia is a very good food, and it's also very traditional food because, right now is one of the richest regions in Italy, but back in the past, the population of Lombardia wasn't really rich. And what they did, they used in a very smart and delicious way the poor ingredient that they had. Lombardia is famous also for the polenta, Harper, because if you think about mountains, you have in mind this big copper pot with a lot of polenta cooking in. And then we want to talk about the amazing cheese that they have up there.
Oh yeah, they have good cheese, yeah.
They have a lot of cows that produce a lot of good milk, and with this milk they do amazing cheeses. Everyone knows Asiago. Asiago is from Lombardia. Everyone knows Gorgonzola. Gorgonzola is from Lombardia.
Oh, it is? Oh, I didn't know that.
See, actually, it's also a place in Lombardia called
Oh, it is?
It's a town.
I didn't know that.
Go.
We should.
We should absolutely go to.
We should move there. That
To
sounds like my
Gorgonzola.
paradise.
We should move to Gorgonzola. Lombardia is a region that has a little bit of the flat zone, that is the Pianura Padana, but it has also the wonderful mountains because it has the Alps. And the dish that today we are going to cook comes from a place up in the Alps. It's obvious that over there it's very cold. And for very cold, I mean cold, with the snow at least 8 months a year.
So they make good winter dishes.
They make good winter dishes, and they use also product that, if you think about Italian cuisine, you don't think about them. But actually, they are part of also our, how do you say, big, diversified...
Diversity of
Italian food.
Well, speaking as you were about poor ingredients, that sort of brings us to this dish because it's a dish that uses very simple and what most people would consider to be poor ingredients. And because of that, I'm hesitant to even describe it until we get into it, because if I tell you what's in it, at first you're gonna be like, there's no way that that's good. But trust us, stick with us here. This is an amazing dish.
The main flour for this kind of pasta is buckwheat flour. In Lombardia, where this dish is from, buckwheat flour actually is used a lot. And the ingredients for this pasta are very easy. So we have buckwheat flour, a little bit of all-purpose flour, warm water, and a pinch of salt. We're starting with mixing the two flour. And maybe at this moment you are asking, but why the buckwheat? Because the white flour back in the past was used just by rich people. All the farmers in Lombardia, they used actually the buckwheat flour that we call in Italian grano saraceno. And if you have watched this channel before and you have watched us making polenta, you should be familiar with this kind of flour because we used it to make the polenta taragna, that is one of the main polenta version you can find in Lombardia.
I don't even know what exactly is buckwheat flour.
Okay, it's not really a cereal, it's not really a grain. It's a plant that grows very well where it's cold. For example, you find a lot of buckwheat in Russian cuisine, and it's completely gluten-free.
Unfortunately, the pasta isn't though, because
because there is the
you still need some real flour.
See, because it needs to stay together. So here we are starting adding a little bit of water and just a pinch of salt.
This is kind of unusual for pasta. You're using warm water, which you normally don't need, and putting salt into the pasta.
Oh, and there is sometimes some exception. If you are used to make fresh pasta, this kind will feel a little bit different because it has the consistency more or less of clay, but this is how it should be. After the dough will be made, and believe me, it's very easy to make a dough with this kind of flour because it doesn't have gluten, which means that you don't have to stay there and eat for 10-15 minutes. What we need to do is let it rest just for 5 minutes, and then actually we can shape it. The shape of this pasta is very similar to a tagliatella, but the difference is that while the tagliatella is long, this should be short, more or less like that. We are talking about 3-4 centimeters long. Unlike the tagliatelle, we use a rolling pin. Now, to spread this dough is much easier because, as we said from the beginning, it doesn't have a lot of gluten, so it's very actually easy. Also, the pasta should be thicker than a normal tagliatella. It's like, if you can see, this is thick. Now we need to cut this like the width of my 4 fingers. Let's say this. And now what we need to do is spread some flour, and I'm always using buckwheat flour. I'm not using 00 flour. We place all the stripe on top, and now we need to cut our pasta. That should be more or less wide, like a tagliatella. You should be very delicate when you work with this kind of pasta because, as we say a lot of time, it doesn't have a big amount of gluten, so it's very delicate. Before we boil the pasta, we need to boil the vegetables that goes with the pasta, and those are potatoes and what you call here in America Savoy cabbage. I don't know in the rest of America, but here in Arizona it's very difficult to find. Sorry, to find.
Don't hurt it. It's the only one we could find.
I know, to find a Savoy cabbage. Actually, the traditional recipe, okay, this is the winter version of this recipe. But if you do this recipe in Italy in spring, summer, you can also substitute with, for example, green beans, with, for example, some chard, which means that also in winter, here in America, if you can't find a Savoy cabbage, and I don't know why, but by the way, you can use also green beans or Swiss chard. The hard part of the cabbage, remember to remove, otherwise it will take too long to cook. The first ingredient that we are going to boil is the potatoes, and we will make them cook for 3 minutes. While the potatoes are boiling, we can prepare our sauce. And for our sauce, we need just butter and a clove of garlic. And pay attention, because this time I'm not going to peel the garlic. I'm just going to mash the garlic, but leave it with all the skin on.
You have a name for that, don't you? It's like garlic.
Aglio in camicia.
Oh yeah, in camicia.
Aglio in camicia.
Which means like with its shirt on.
Sì.
Yeah.
We need to melt the butter and let it brown. After 3 minutes is the moment of our Savoy cabbage. So we put the Savoy cabbage in, and we cook it for other 3 minutes.
Ooh, that smell just hit me. That is good.
Believe me, this is one of this pasta dish when I had for the first time. And at that time I didn't like cabbage. I was just impressed on how good it is. Once the garlic made its job, we can remove it because it's not pleasant to eat it. And after 3 minutes we can cook, we can put also the pasta. Now this is a very delicate moment because this pasta hasn't gluten. So be gentle and put the pasta in.
I see, so you kind of time all the ingredients that go in based on how long they take to cook, right? The potatoes take the longest, the cabbage, and then it all cooks together.
We will stir the pasta with this part of the wooden spoon because we need to pay attention. We don't want the pasta stick together, but we don't want also to break it. And we will cook the pasta for 10 minutes.
Really?
Oh, 10 minutes.
That's a long time for fresh pasta.
I know. This needs to cook for 10 minutes. It's a very thick pasta. And now is the moment in which we can drain our pasta. And the way in which we are doing is with something like that. And be sure that you don't have water. And we need to put them into a baking tray because we are not done yet after we drain them. Now is the moment to add the cheese. The traditional cheese that is used for this dish is or casera or bitto, but if you can't find, as I couldn't find here in America, you can also use some Asiago. And of course, because in most of Italian dishes, we need also some Parmigiano Reggiano. So we can place on the first layer some cheese.
So you do 2 layers, half on the bottom,
Yeah.
cheese, and then the rest.
Yeah. And the last ingredient is the butter. What we do now is we take this dish and place on the boiling water. We close with a paper towel. Pay attention to not burn.
Not a paper towel. Then
towel.
it will definitely burn.
And we wait 5 minutes, time that with the steam and with the heat of the water, the cheese melt.
Even more so than normal pasta, hot, melted, cheesy pasta means eat it right away while the cheese is still hot and melted.
Because otherwise it will, how do you say, glue all together.
Yes. While I'm serving it, do you want to finally tell us what this dish is?
So this dish is Pizzoccheri della Valtellina. And Valtellina is one of the valley up in Lombardia. Is traditional from there. Is one of the best dish that actually you can have up there. And
it smells really amazing.
so we need to
So
eat
good.
it.
Okay.
We need to eat it.
All right.
Buon appetito.
Buon appetito. Oh, that's so good.
The perfect bite is the potatoes, the cheese, and the cabbage.
Yeah, if you can get all 3
all together.
that is by far the best. I think that has to be one of the most perfect winter pastas. It's like so hearty and filling, and on a cold day.
See, you don't want to eat this in August. Actually, no, I don't know, because
I think I would be into eating this any time of year.
Agosto.
I'm just saying that particularly in winter. This is a dish where if you just describe it to someone, it sounds really like boring or bland or something, like cabbage and potatoes and buckwheat pasta. Like it doesn't sound very sexy, but it tastes really sexy.
It is.
It's like impossibly good.
It's one of that dish that more you eat, more you want.
Yeah, that is truly unlike any other pasta dish I've ever had.
It's unique.
It's very unique.
It's unique because
from the flavor to the technique, everything about it is very different.
Absolutely. In my opinion, more people should know this dish because it's very good.
We'll know it will be a success when the Olive Garden menu has pizzoccheri on it.
Now, this will be like a nightmare because I can't imagine what Olive Garden can do with this.
Parsley.
Yes, to give more color.
The butter will be butter and garlic powder.
Yes, and adding cream. You can see Olive Garden adding cream and all this. I can already tell.
Speaking of hidden Italian gems, here is a pasta grammarian who made a big one, which is pasta alla zozzona.
Zozzona.
Zozzona, I'll never get that.
I know, they did a great job. And my very humble opinion, if I can say just a word about Italian food, pasta alla zozzona is much better than a carbonara.
Everyone we've heard from who has tried that recipe says the same thing.
Because it is. Because
I
it
agree.
is.
I agree.
Understand the obsession with pasta alla carbonara. I'm not saying that it's not good, but pasta alla zozzona is 10 times better.
Sometimes it's those dishes that very few people have heard about that are the best. All right, guys, we will put the recipe for this down below. We hope you try it. If you do, tag us in a picture on Instagram or Facebook at Pastagrammer. Give that video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time. Ciao. See, it's this top layer that is like the best, but it's dangerous because then it just invites you and you just sit here and you want to pick at it. And then you pick off the top layer, but then you reveal the second layer of cheese down below, which is also really good as it turns out.